Coming up on Network Africa, South Africa's governing ANC prepares to announce new leadership to succeed Jacob Zuma. And EU leaders lock horns over hosting refugees, make tentative efforts to patch up differences. And International Criminal Court awards damages worth $10 million to children recruited by Congolese warlord Thomas Lubanga. It's the final edition of the program for the week, and it's great to have you. I am Bisia Debayo. The 54th elective conference of South Africa's ruling party, the African National Congress, begins tomorrow after many months of speculation and debate, as well as campaigning. The ANC's top 6 officials are expected to emerge from the conference, during which the party is also expected to ratify the outcome of the National Policy Conference in June.
In Soweto is agog for the 54th ANC elective conference.
The conference will be convened under the theme, Remember Tambo, Towards Unity, Renewal and Radical Socio-Economic Transformation, and is expected to be attended by 5,240 voting delegates.
There are 6 positions to fill here: Party President, Deputy President, Party Chair, Secretary General, Deputy Secretary General, and Treasury General to be elected separately. It's been a stormy sail for the party, which has become openly divided, especially over the many scandals of current leader and state president Jacob Zuma. Of the 7 names making the rounds for the race for the ANC leadership, the 2 front-runners are Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, current ANC and state deputy president. Ramaphosa is a lawyer, political activist, trade union leader, and successful businessman. He has not been indicted of any illegality, but some of his business interests have not been spared. He's also received flack from opposition over the handling of the Marikana massacre of protesting miners, a responsibility he rejects. The 67-year-old father of 4 is regarded as a seasoned mediator. He was a chief negotiator during South Africa's transition to multiracial democracy. Mr. Ramaphosa hopes to heal the divisions within the party, as well as with alliance partners, some of whose backing he has.
That's the political drama that happens in all countries, but as long as politics is underpinned by key principles of responsible leaders, accountable leaders, and committed to advancing the interests of the people without advancing their own interests.
Next is 68-year-old Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. She's a medical doctor who has served all presidents from Nelson Mandela to President Jacob Zuma as Health Minister, Foreign Affairs Minister, and Home Affairs Minister before she became the chairperson of the African Union Commission in 2012. Dr. Dlamini Zuma was married to President Zuma, for whom she has 4 children. They divorced in 1998. She has the backing of the ANC Womens League as well as the ANC Youth League.
Africa, I would say, is a contested space. We are not left alone to just deal with our issues. It's a very contested space, so many people want to influence Africa one way or another, and that's why we have situations like Libya today, where countries came and bombed.
The journey to Nasrec has not been short of intrigues, and the task ahead is huge, made tougher by the many troubles of President Zuma, which has seen the ANC lose grip on political numbers and power.
What we see is what I call the historical inevitability. You have a party that had been forged under conditions of apartheid. It has to reinvent itself. And what you hear is the notion of a broad church. But that broad church is not sustainable until you find a new glue. Apartheid was the glue that kept them together. But at the same time, we must also not be despondent about what is happening. What is most important is how do we take advantage of the multiplicity to say, let's talk about unity in diversity, rather than to get into what appears to be personal animosities. But I think this will pass. But I think for me, this is the best time for South Africans to start forging a new reality. At the moment, we're still obsessed with the heroism of the past, but we need new tools, we need new perspectives, and the perspectives of the past are not going to work. Unfortunately, that's what we seem to be relying more on.
It's all going down here 16th to the 20th of December 2017. ANC kingmakers, leaders and dealers alike on politic in overdrive. Some analysts even add there's still room for some surprise or compromise candidates somewhere in the mix. But hopefully the leaders-elect will help the party regain all that's been lost, particularly in the past decade. From the Nasrec Expo Center in Soweto, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
Well, staying with politics, but this time in Zimbabwe, where the governing ZANU-PF party is holding its annual congress in the capital, Harare, from today. This is the party's first high-profile gathering since Emerson Mnangagwa replaced Robert Mugabe as president. About 8,000 people are expected to attend the three-day event. More stories now. The United States is suspending food and fuel aid to most of Somalia's armed forces over concerns about corruption. There are reports that the Somali military, battling militant Islamic group Al-Shabaab, had repeatedly failed to account for food and fuel aid. A State Department official explained that the U.S. and the Somalian government agree that the Somali National Army had failed to meet the standards for accountability for U.S. assistance. The U.S. also funded the 22,000-strong African Union force in Somalia. There are insinuations that the force plans to withdraw from Somalia by 2020. The first 1,000 troops are due to leave by the end of this month. And barely a week after the Blaise Diagne International Airport was launched in Dakar, a strike by Senegalese air traffic controllers has paralyzed flights from the airport. The trade union leader, Paul Gomes, says the workers are unhappy with the working conditions and the civil aviation officials had ignored their requests for compensation to cover the long travel times to the new airport, which is about 50 kilometers from the capital, Dakar. He also mentioned that the 60 air traffic controllers affected had not been trained in the use of the new equipment and the new control tower. Flights have been cancelled to and from Dakar, with other airlines rerouting their flights to Banjul in the Gambia.